Hey guys, what's up? It's Savannah. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another true crime episode here on my YouTube channel. As you guys can tell by the title of today's video, today we are doing an updated video for the Vanessa Guillen case. And I do want to take a second and apologize. I know that I mispronounced Vanessa's last name in the previous video that we did, so I just want to take a second and apologize for that. Her last name is Guillen, so we are talking about the Vanessa Guillen case and all of the updates that we have on her case thus far. Before we get started, I want to thank today's sponsor for this video, and that is BetterHelp. I know I've talked to you guys a lot about BetterHelp in the past. So BetterHelp is an online counseling website that connects you to a professional counselor in a safe and private online environment. BetterHelp is extremely convenient, and you can get help on your own time and at your own pace in the comfort of your own home. BetterHelp has licensed therapists that specialize in depression, anxiety, LGBTQ+ matters, family conflicts, grief, self-esteem, trauma, relationships, sleeping. Anything you share with your counselor will 100% be confidential, and if for whatever reason you are not happy with the counselor that has been provided to you, you can always switch your counselor at no additional charge. There's 4 communication modes with BetterHelp. You can either do text messages, video calls, phone calls, or online chatting. Financial aid is available to those who qualify with BetterHelp, and overall, BetterHelp is just convenient, professional, and affordable. So if you guys have ever thought about getting professional help but weren't really sure where to start, this is a great place to do it. I know personally for me, I am definitely someone who completely advocates for getting help when you need it. So if you guys are interested in trying out BetterHelp, you can click the link in the description box below and you will get 10% off your first month. You can enter the discount code INSTINCT at checkout, or you can just go to betterhelp.com/instinct. Again, that's just betterhelp.com/instinct and get 10% off your first month. So thank you BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. With that being said, let's move on into the case. So a couple weeks ago, I talked to you guys about the Vanessa Guillen case, and if you are unfamiliar with it, I will have the original video that I did in the description box below for you guys to check out. I recommend you watch that video before you watch this one because it'll just make more sense. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But I talked to you guys about the Vanessa Guillen case. Vanessa was a beautiful 20-year-old woman who went missing on the base of Fort Hood on April 22nd, 2020. This case has gained an unbelievable amount of traction in the media, and it's been really amazing to see how many people have been touched by Vanessa's story and have been infuriated by the way this case has been handled. So the brief overview of this case is that on April 22nd, 2020, 20-year-old Vanessa Guillen was on the Fort Hood Army base, and she had been working inside the arms room that day. That is the room where they keep all of the weapons, and she was working in that room that day. Vanessa was seen by a witness leaving the arms room that day, and when she left a lot of her belongings there. She left her keys, she left her army ID, and I think she left her wallet as well. The reason she left the arms room to begin with is because she was walking from one arms room to a different arms room. So there's multiple different arms rooms around the base, and she was walking from the one that she was scheduled to work at to a different one. And she was doing this because she was supposed to be confirming some of the serial numbers on the weapons. So I'm going to refer to the arms room that Vanessa worked at as arms room 1, and then we're going to refer to the second one as the second arms room, just so it's a little bit easier. So Vanessa left arms room 1 to go to the second arms room, and the person that was working in the second arms room this day was Special Agent 20-year-old Erin Robinson. And following her visit to the second arms room, Vanessa was supposed to be going to the motor pool, which is the area where a lot of the vehicles are kept. So just to give you a timeline of how this was supposed to go, Vanessa was supposed to go to the second arms room and then the motor pool. However, the people who were working at the motor pool that day said that Vanessa never ended up showing up. They were waiting for her, they were expecting her, but she never ended up getting there. So on April 28th, which was just 6 days following Vanessa's disappearance, authorities thought it would be a good idea to question Erin Robinson, considering he was the only person that they knew of who was working in the second arms room that day. And along with that, Erin Robinson was the last person that Vanessa had sent a text message to that day. Because of those two factors combined, authorities thought it would be a good idea to question Erin. Now, when they sat him down, Erin told the authorities that on April 22nd, Vanessa came into the arms room that he was working at. Once she got there, she read Erin some of the serial numbers for the equipment that they were using, and then Erin said he gave Vanessa some paperwork and a .50 caliber machine gun. Erin said that Vanessa was instructed to to take these items over to the motor pool, which is why they were expecting her that day, but like I said, she never showed up. So after Aaron gave the authorities his story of what happened that day when he saw Vanessa, authorities also asked Aaron about his whereabouts for the remainder of April 22nd. Now, Aaron said that after work on April 22nd, he left the base. After he left work, he went straight home to his off-post residence to spend the entire night with his 22-year-old girlfriend, Cecily Aguilar. So in order to confirm his alibi, authorities then spoke to Cicely, and she basically confirmed Aaron's story. She said the two of them had been together the entire night at home the night of the 22nd. And then according to Aaron, he said the next day he left his house at about 6:30 a.m. to go back to the Fort Hood base to complete some of his work and start his day. But that was really his entire alibi. He just said he went from the base to home with his girlfriend, stayed there the entire night. So this initial story that Aaron and Cicely gave the authorities were really what the authorities had to go off of for the next month following Vanessa's disappearance. However, on May 18th, 2020, there was some new information that was presented to the authorities. And this information came from two witnesses. Now, these two witnesses approached the authorities and told them that on the night of April 22nd, Aaron was seen pulling a large tough box out of the arms room and into his car. He was seen kind of struggling, trying to get it from the ground into his car, indicating that whatever was inside the box was extremely heavy. However, once Aaron was able to get the box inside of his car, he got right into his car himself and he drove away. Now, if you aren't aware of what a tough box is, because I certainly wasn't, a tough box is basically just a very heavy duty plastic container. I'm gonna pop up a picture of it so you guys can get a better visualization, but it's a very it's tough, it's tough material, hence the name. And these tough boxes can sometimes have wheels, so they're easier to transport, and that is what happened in this case. So once authorities got this piece of information, they actually approached Aaron and asked to look through his cell phone and look at his cell phone records, which he agreed to do. When they did this, they found that on the night of April 22nd, going into the early morning hours of April 23rd, Aaron had made multiple different phone calls to his girlfriend, Cicely. Now, obviously, when authorities saw this, they questioned why, if the two of them had been together the entire night, as they first said that they did, why would Aaron be calling her multiple different times throughout the night? So authorities approached Cicely with this question. They asked her that same exact question, and according to Cicely, she said that that night she had actually misplaced her cell phone and she had asked Aaron to call it. So that is why there's history of him calling her cell phone. However, these calls lasted for multiple minutes at a time. It wasn't just a couple seconds and a quick hang up. So because of that, it didn't make any sense to authorities. So based off of those inconsistencies with the phone call, authorities approached Cicely again and asked her again, this isn't making sense. This isn't adding up. What are you not saying? And this is when Cicely decides to change her story. According to Cicely, on the night of April 22nd, she and Aaron both drove to a park in Belton, Texas to look at the stars together. She said that they waited there for a couple hours, looked at the stars, and then drove home and spent the rest of the night together at their home. So along with the unexplainable phone calls, authorities also found something else when tracking Aaron's GPS on the night of April 22nd into the early morning hours of April 23rd. When authorities tracked Aaron's GPS, they were able to figure out that he had spent about 2 hours at the Leon River. Now, the Leon River is located in Bell County, and according to Aaron's GPS, he was there at approximately about 1:59 a.m. on April 23rd for about 2 hours. Cicely's phone also showed the same exact travel patterns as Aaron did. Now, once the Belton Police Department was made aware of Cicely and Aaron's location the night of April 22nd, moving into the early morning hours of April 23rd, they decided to go there themselves and search through the river. They searched through the river and the surrounding areas, and while they didn't find any human remains inside of the river, they did find the remains of what seemed to be a plastic tote, which is very similar to a tough box. Now, this search happened on June 21st, 2020, and along with finding the remains of the plastic tote, authorities also discovered the burn site. They were able to figure it out because the burn site was a lot more damp and soft. The soil was a lot more damp and soft than any of the surrounding areas. Now, several days later, on June 30th, 2020, there was a group of contractors at the Leon River working on a fence. And while they were working, they came across what appeared to be human remains. Immediately among finding these remains, these contractors contacted authorities, and authorities arrived on the scene right away. Authorities described the remains to be scattered throughout the area and appeared to be placed in a concrete-like substance as well. Now, when these remains were discovered, authorities immediately questioned Cecily again, because remember, this is the exact same location that Cecily and Aaron's cell phones show that they were at on the early morning hours of April 23rd. And this is when Cecily's story pretty much came completely undone. According to Cecily, she claimed that on the night of April 22nd, 2020, Aaron came and picked her up from her job at a gas station. She claimed once she got into his car, he drove her to the Leon River, which is where the two of them got out of his car, and he walked her into the woods. Aaron walked Cecily up to a tough box and removed the lid on top of it, and that is when Cecily said she saw the body of Vanessa Guillen. According to Cecily, she said that Aaron told her that he had bludgeoned Vanessa over the head with a hammer multiple times. He said he did this while the two of them were in the arms room together earlier that day. He said he then put Vanessa inside of the tough box and drove it into the woods. Now, according to Cecily, she said that the original plan when it came to Vanessa was going to be to burn her body in order to get rid of her remains and any evidence. So they attempted to do so. They tried to burn her body. However, when that happened, it was taking a really long time and it wasn't really working, and the smoke that was coming off from Vanessa's body, as well as the plastic being burned, the smoke was actually rising. It was rising about 15 feet into the air, and Aaron and Cecily were both pretty worried that it would attract attention to what they were doing. Someone would see it and maybe freak out or call 911, and so they decided to forfeit that idea completely, and that is when they decided to go with their second plan. And their second plan was to dismember Vanessa's body using a hatchet axe and a machete type knife. And after they dismembered her body, they dug up 3 different holes. Her remains were put into those 3 buried holes, and after that, Aaron and Cecily fled the scene. Now, several days later, Aaron and Cecily returned back to the burial site. They came wearing hairnets and gloves, and they ended up digging up Vanessa's remains for the purpose of attempting to burn them for a second time. So once they dug up Vanessa's remains that were in those 3 different burial holes, they burned all of her remains and put whatever was left back into the burial holes, and then they covered the holes with the concrete mixture that they had created. After this, they returned home and burned the hairnets, gloves, and clothes that they had been wearing to visit the burial site in order to get rid of any evidence. Now, while Cecily was talking to the police and basically just coming clean about everything, Aaron was not aware that this was happening. He was not aware that Cecily was basically giving him up. However, because he was a person of interest and basically a suspect in this case, the authorities had him placed into a room on the base of Fort Hood, and he was instructed to not leave this room. I believe they told him that it was for COVID reasons and also for the fact that he was being looked into as a suspect for the Vanessa Guillen case. However, even though he was instructed not to leave the room and he was actually being watched, Aaron was able to escape. He was able to get out of the room. This was on June 30th, 2020. So he fled that room and basically led police on a huge manhunt trying to find him. Now, while being interrogated by the authorities, Cecily was actually instructed by the police to call Aaron. And the purpose of this was basically to get Aaron to agree with what Cecily was saying in regards to what happened to Vanessa. She basically reiterated the story to him of what happened that night, and he just went along with it. He was like, yeah, that happened, I know, da 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 da. He didn't disagree with any of it. So once Cecily told the authorities where Vanessa's remains were located, that is when they went out and found them, and the media was so all over this case already. So the media picked up on this story immediately that there had been remains found, and while Cecily was in the interrogation room with the authorities, Aaron was texting her different articles about Vanessa's remains being discovered and saying they found the pieces. Authorities were able to find Aaron later that night. They found him walking along the sidewalk, and when they tried to approach him, Aaron shot himself in the head, which ended up ending his own life. Now, Cecily Aguilar has been arrested. Obviously, she came out and basically told the authorities what happened. So she has been arrested. She's facing, I believe, 20 years in prison and a $250,000 maximum fine. Now, I have seen multiple different reports of what her actual charge is. I've seen reports that have said that Cecily is being charged with conspiracy to tamper with evidence, and I've seen other reports saying that Cecily is being charged with, and I'm gonna look over here so I get it exactly right, felony alteration and mutilation to impede an investigation. I've seen both charges floating around online. I'm not exactly sure why she hasn't been charged with accomplice to murder, but that's just me. I'm sure we'll learn more about her charges as more information comes out and as this continues as well. Now, I want to talk about what we discussed in the beginning in the first video that we did regarding Vanessa's case, and that is motive. What was the motive here? And obviously there's never an excuse, there is never a reason. Nothing that happens to these people that we talk about is ever justifiable in any way. However, when these things do happen, you're curious about motive. And we talked a lot in the last video that we did on Vanessa about the fact that she was being sexually harassed. She had told her family she was being sexually harassed. She had told her boyfriend she was being sexually harassed. And looking at what we know now, it's pretty clear that at least one of the people that Vanessa was referring to that she was being harassed by was Aaron Robinson. There are reports that there was a superior above Vanessa that walked in on her while she was showering and just kind of stood there and stared at her and wouldn't leave and made her extremely uncomfortable. That has been alleged to be Aaron Robinson. Now, whether Aaron wanted to seriously pursue Vanessa as a relationship and she rejected him, or if it was multiple different times of sexual harassment against Vanessa, and maybe if it happened this time on April 22nd and Vanessa just decided to fight back and stand up for herself, it could have caused Aaron to be triggered and just snap. The lawyer representing Vanessa's family has actually come out and said that Vanessa was planning on filing a harassment claim against Aaron Robinson just the day after she disappeared. Now, I want to talk about Cicely for a minute. Now, Cicely was actually married while she was dating Aaron. I believe she had an estranged husband who also was a soldier on the Fort Hood base, and it wasn't until February of 2020 where her and Aaron got together and started having their relationship, or at least that's when they became like official. So Cicely, being a 22-year-old, you know, has an Instagram page and posts basically just selfies of herself on this Instagram page, and that's not the important part or the telling part. The telling part here is the captions that she posts on her Instagram. Cicely started posting regular content on Instagram just 2 days after Vanessa's death. She started posting regular pictures. She was posting multiple pictures a day, and I'm going to actually read you some of the captions that she had posted on her pictures. So on April 24th, she posted a selfie captioned, quote, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent," end quote. That same day, she posted another picture captioned, quote, "The most dangerous woman of all is the one who refuses to rely on you to save her because she was never a damsel in distress," end quote. That same day, she captioned another selfie with, quote, "She was born in fire, fierce to melt the iron. You fell in love with a woman who knows how to tame the dragon. She's the Targaryen of her own soul," end quote. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that word right. I don't know what that is. On May 1st, she posted another selfie captioned, quote, "I loved her, the dark side of her. Any girl can play innocent, but her demons are what drove me wild. Her secrets, her pain, she masked with laughter. The darkness she tries so hard to hide, that's what made me fall for her," end quote. The same day, she captioned another picture with, quote, "He showed her the darkest part of him. She said black is my favorite color," end quote. The same day again, she posted another selfie captioned, "I will not have you without the darkness that hides within you. I will not let you have me without the madness that makes me. If our demons cannot dance, neither can we," end quote. The last picture she posted on Instagram was on May 25th, captioned, quote, "People who fight fire with fire end up with the ashes of their own integrity," end quote. And I know that I just spewed you a lot of captions at once, but if you look at the captions and then look at the series of events that was happening in Cicely's life at that point, she had just helped cover up the murder of someone. So when she says things like he showed her the darkest parts of him and she said black is my favorite color, it's like she's creating this twisted fantasy inside of her head where she believes that like her and Aaron are like partners and all this. It's very, very, very bizarre. And when she talks about the fire and burning and knowing that they tried to burn Vanessa's body, it's super disturbing. Now, when authorities basically approached Cicely with the theory that the motive behind all this was the fact that Vanessa was going to file a harassment claim against Aaron, Cicely basically denied this fact completely and said that the real reason or the real motive behind this was the fact that Vanessa told Aaron that she was going to exploit him and Cicely for having this affair while Cicely was technically technically still married. Like I said, Cicely was still technically married to her estranged husband, who also was a soldier on Fort Hood. And so Cicely said that the reason and the motive behind this was the fact that Vanessa was saying that she was going to exploit Aaron for what he was doing and that she was going to ruin his career and all of these different things. Personally, I think that's BS. I think that there's no way that Vanessa would care enough to try to exploit Aaron and Cicely. Clearly, if she was planning on filing a harassment claim, she wouldn't really want to get in the middle of him being with someone else, if that makes sense. So to me, it seems like Cicely is just extremely either naive and doesn't want to believe that her boyfriend could want someone else. Based off of just like her Instagram and her captions and things like that, she clearly thinks that she's like greater than thou in a sense. So if her boyfriend was interested in another woman, she probably just doesn't even want to accept that fact. Personally, I still believe that the true motive behind all of this was sexual harassment. I believe that on the day of April 22nd, Vanessa went into that arms room and saw Aaron, and Aaron either made an advance or said something, and Vanessa either told him that she was going to file a harassment claim, or Vanessa just tried to fight him off and stand up for herself, and that just triggered Aaron completely. Now, a new piece of information that we actually have is that Vanessa was actually not scheduled to work originally on April 22nd. It was a last minute change made by someone who is not Aaron Robinson. Vanessa was scheduled last minute to come in on April 22nd and work in the arms room, which really makes me believe that this entire thing was premeditated, and it makes me believe that Aaron didn't act completely alone in this, for the reasons being this would have been a huge crime scene mess to clean up that I don't believe that Aaron could have done on his own. And I also find it very interesting how just no one heard Vanessa scream or make any noise. Anyone could have easily just walked in through that door that day, but no one did. It makes me wonder if there was someone either waiting on the outside of the door to make sure no one went in. It makes me wonder if someone was waiting there to go in afterwards and clean up the crime scene. And I personally do believe that whoever that person is the person that scheduled Vanessa last minute that day. I believe that Aaron probably told this person that they wanted Vanessa to come in, and maybe he told them what he was planning on doing, and that's how it kind of all got orchestrated. Because for Aaron to act completely alone in this, it just kind of seems too far-fetched. He most likely had someone to help him throughout this process that wasn't Cicely. Cicely came afterwards, but Aaron probably had someone on base to help him who was also of a superior ranking. If Aaron asked a superior ranking to schedule Vanessa in that day for the purpose of murdering her, that's premeditated murder. Now, since Vanessa's death, there have been countless people, countless women who have come forward and said that they too have experienced sexual assault while on base, while serving this country, from people who are superior rankings to them. And because of Vanessa's death, people have genuinely been questioning these military bases, saying that this is all just one big cover-up system. Everyone is covering up for someone else. And now this is not to say that every high-ranking soldier is a terrible person. That's not what this is about. But it is telling the amount of people that are coming forward and claiming that they have experienced sexual harassment as well that has been covered up by superiors. Now, Vanessa's case has been honored by millions of people across the country and across the world. It has sparked the attention of so many people and pulled on the heartstrings of countless. It's incredibly frustrating to see that Vanessa's case was attempted to be covered up by the superiors on the Fort Hood base, and they were just trying to save face and make it look like nothing had happened and that they didn't do anything wrong, and that Vanessa just wandered off one day when everyone knew that that wasn't the case. This is something that shouldn't have happened. Vanessa's death is something that should have never, ever happened. Vanessa vowed to serve and protect a country that did not do the same for her. She deserved to be protected by the country that she vowed to protect herself. And that is why this case makes me so infuriated. It makes me so mad. Every once in a while, I come across a case that just gets me, and this one gets me. Personally, I think Cicely deserves way more than 20 years in prison, but that is just me. It was so preventable. If people were just to do what they were supposed to do, and if people were good people, this wouldn't have happened. Vanessa deserved so much more than this. She deserves so much better than this. Everyone who goes through sexual harassment, on base or not, they deserve so much more, and that's why this case makes me so mad. She just wanted to protect this country. She wanted to protect and she wanted to serve, and the absolute worst came out of it, and it makes me so infuriated. So this case definitely got to me this week. You guys can let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. But with that being said, you guys, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another true crime episode here on my YouTube channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Savannah. I make videos 3 days a week, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. You should subscribe and join the family. I love you guys so much. I'll be back in a couple days with a brand new one. Bye, guys.